Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name's Prickly Poo and welcome to day 16 of a year of change. Today we're going to tackle the first change that we actually did yesterday, which was adding water to our diet. I didn't really touch on it very much yesterday, but I just sort of wanted to give an overall view of why we're doing this so early, why we aren't curbing our food intake and things like that, as well as some of the benefits of it. We'll be going into a little more detail throughout the week with various aspects of it, but just sort of wanted to give a summary as to why I thought we should do it. Now, some of you, this might be a more significant change than others. When I first started doing it years ago, I just drank pop or juice, and that was it. I never just drank water because it just had no flavor to it. And it was actually a woman at work. I remember at one point asking her, she just always had water with her. She would drain our water fountain while we were there, or the water cooler water fountain, because she was in grade 3. So when I said, how can you drink just water? There's no flavor to it. And she said, no, it's all I ever drink. And I don't really know exactly when I started doing it. I think it was when I started working overnights years ago. And just when you're working at an overnight shift, nothing is open, nothing's available to you, and the place I was working didn't have vending machines or anything, so I had to bring my own stuff. And it wasn't exactly going to keep bringing, bottle after bottle after bottle of pop. So what I did was I purchased the big 1-liter bottle of water and froze it and took it with me, and then I could just refill it because we had a water cooler there. And it was sort of out of necessity that I started doing that. And now it's pretty much all I drink. I'll buy milk. I usually won't have pop unless I'm mixing it with something. But even juice, I rarely get that. But water is pretty much my go-to drink during the day. And I'll usually go through a bottle or two a day. So the reason why I think we should start out with that as opposed to a food change is it's much easier just to add something very simple that many of you are probably already doing. And it's something that we can build up gradually. It's not like I'm saying, okay, you need to now add all 5 fruits and vegetables every single day to your diet, because it's too much of a big change and the logistics of it are just, it's too much to start out too soon. So with this, it's also something that we're going to be doing for the next year. We're going to slowly be adding more and more. And gradually it is going to replace the sugary drinks that you have, or if you're a chocolate milk person, it's going to replace that. And it's just a matter, you probably get the majority of the liquid that you need in the run of a day from whatever you're drinking. But with water, it's not mixed in with fats or acids or sugars or anything else. So it's just getting the liquid into you. Now, this isn't to say that it's a cure-all. This isn't something that is going to say, as long as you drink this much water, then you're guaranteed to lose weight. It's not. It is going to help because it's taking up volume in our stomach. So if you're drinking water all the time, when you go to eat something, you are going to eat less because there's simply not enough room. So that's a good thing. But again, it's only a liter, and we lose 3 times that during the run of a day, just from breathing and going to the bathroom and sweating, some of us more than others. And we lose a lot of water through the run of a day. So 1 liter is just sort of a way to get things started, to get that back into you. Now, the whole drink 8 glasses of water a day, that's pretty much been debunked, because although it was sort of a guideline years and years and years ago, they realize everyone is different. So you can't just say, well, I'm going to drink 8 glasses of water, it'll be fine. You may not need that much, or it might be too much, depending on your size and everything else. We still know that we're mostly water. We're about 60% water. Different parts of the body have different percentages. Your lungs are very high, they're around 80. Your heart and your brain are in the 70s somewhere. Even your bones are over 30% water, which sounds odd when you think about it, but everything about us is based around water. So normally if someone has enough water, then there's a number of different things that will pretty much even themselves out. Now, the problem with this, though, is with fat people like us. We are not 60% water like everyone else. Fatty tissue doesn't hold water the same way that lean muscle mass does. So while a normal person may be 60 or 65% water, depending on how big you are, people like us could be as low as 40 or 45% water, which sounds really weird when you think about it, that we're missing 15 to 20% of our water that we should have in our bodies. And it's mainly because the fat in our bodies, it can't hang on to the water the same way that other cells of our body do. So the vast majority of a fat cell is fat, not water, like everything else. So there's another reason why we should be drinking a little bit more, just so that we have that put back into our body at some point. Now, aside from just helping us not be thirsty, there are a number of things that it will sort of facilitate along the way. The more water we have, the easier it is to digest food. It'll help right from beginning to end. So there's that. There's sort of an idea that the more water you drink, then it'll help clean your system out a little bit more. And while that's not exactly true, your kidneys are pretty much independent of that. Their filtration rate is not exactly dependent upon how much water you drink. And if you drink more water, you're not going to filter toxins out of your body any faster. But it does help in reducing uric acid, which is something that sort of crystallizes, and you get deposits in your joints and your tendons, and it can cause kidney stones. It can cause gout, which is pretty much just kidney stones in your feet. So the more water that you drink, it will help your kidneys filter that stuff out as well. And just because it won't be able to crystallize. So it sort of helps your kidneys that way. But as far as just, I'm going to clean out all my toxins by just drinking water, doesn't exactly work that way. But it can't hurt. So another thing is your bones and your joints. The cartilage that surrounds your bone, doesn't surround your bones, but is in your joints. Everything from your hip joints to your fingers to even the discs that are in between your vertebrae. A lot of that cushioning is provided by water as well. So if you're dehydrated, or if you don't have enough water in there, then that can help contribute to back pain and joint pain and things like that. So the more water we have there, that's going to help as well. And again, I'm not saying, if you drink water, then you're not going to have any joint pain. No, we're carrying around hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of extra pounds. We aren't going to just be able to walk around and not have joint pain. It's simply not going to happen. Our bones weren't designed for that. But it does lessen, the chances that you're going to have of, it doesn't lessen any chances. It lessens the stress. It will provide more cushion for the pushing. I had to say that. I'm sorry. It will provide more cushioning for your joints, your spine, things like that. And again, eventually we're going to be drinking more and more and more, but just starting out with this little bit is enough that hopefully after a week or two, you're going to start feeling a little bit different. Because even your muscles, this is a very oversimplified way of saying this, but when you're drinking more water, it, for lack of a better term, lubricates everything a little easier. So your muscle fatigue is not prevented, but your muscles work a little easier, so you won't get as tired as you are now. And again, these are going to be very, very small things. It's not going to be something that after a week you just think, I have all this energy, I can do whatever I want. Because, it isn't designed that way. Again, this is a very small change to it. But the main reason why I sort of wanted to get starting things off this way so early is it's easy for a lot of us. It doesn't cost a lot of money. Unless you have to go buy, a Brito filter or something, that's going to be a bit of an investment, but they last for a long, long time. I use them much, much longer than it says to, because it keeps going. Until it stops filtering it out and my water tastes like pool water again, I'm good. So, and if you're going every 4 or 6, or I'd say every 6 to 8 weeks, and buying new bottles, just so that you have that, so it's not, you're not getting that plasticky taste, and there aren't deposits going on the bottles, then it's it's really not that bad. And even though it is a bit of an investment if you do have to buy the filter, if you think in the long run, a year from now, how it's going to help you curb that appetite a little bit more, then just assume this is money I would probably be spending on chips or cookies or something else. That might make some of you feel actually worse. If it does, I'm sorry. It's not intended to. Excuse me. But it's just a way to get things going. Because as I said yesterday, once we start exercising, you're going to want to be drinking more and more and more. And you're going to find that, milk, for me anyway, doesn't really quench my thirst. Pop is very good at it as well, but it does give you that big blast of sugar, which we're going to eventually try to get away from as well. Juice is good, but you'd be surprised how much sugar and stuff is added to it. And again, I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, doing all this nutritional stuff, but down the road, in a few months' time, we are going to start looking at that. And it's going to be much easier if we are already used to drinking, say, 2 or 3 liters of water a day at that stage, so that some of you can just start replacing the regular stuff that you have as well. And especially when we start tracking liquids in a few weeks. I think it's actually going to be 2 weeks. When we start tracking that, as long as you're going to be surprised how many calories go into even just a glass of milk. And so it's going to be good. At that point, you're going to want to keep drinking something. And having that extra water is going to help in the long run. So, but I guess there are also some... I haven't looked into this very much. I haven't really looked into any of this in depth. I'm not a doctor or anything. This is just information that I've found. You can go and do your own research as well, just to see what other benefits there are, what things that you think are going to be, best for you. Some of them are a little out there. They'll have some that'll say, "Oh, it'll make your skin shiny." It's like, well, I can't see how it would. Our skin is something like 60 or 65% water, so I would imagine that it's going to help prevent dry skin. And there's probably some cosmetic benefit to it as well, but I can't imagine that it's going to have such a huge impact as some of the places would lead you to believe. And keep in mind, too, that a lot of the stuff with the water, the people that sort of are putting that out there seem to be really enthusiastic about it. And a little unrealistic. The reason why I decided to just to have water, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We need to have that in our system. But I saw one entry where a person said, if you really wanted to be bold, you could put in a slice of watermelon for flavor, which made no sense to me whatsoever. I don't see that as being bold in any way. And if I want watermelon, I'll just have watermelon. The water aspect of it, for some of you, you might need to add something to it, like, lemon or lime or berries or, whatever you need, or like the powdered diet drinks or whatever you need. As long as it's something that isn't going to add calories to it, then you're fine, as long as you're getting that in there. The reason why I just sort of suggest plain water is because there's nothing else mixed with it. If you find that, for now anyway, that it's just horrible, unbearable, which I can't imagine it would be for anybody. But if it is for you, within a couple of weeks, for now, you can sort of start out and add something to it so that it has a little bit of flavor, as long as it doesn't add any calories to it. Down the road, though, we are going to need to suck it up and say, you know what, I'm going to have to just have water. But again, baby steps. So if you find that it's just absolutely horrible and you're forcing it down, then do something to change that. Whether it's diet powder or those little droplet flavor things, whatever you feel is going to add something to it, is not going to add calories. If you're adding 5 calories to it or 10 calories, that doesn't matter. What I mean is, don't put things like Kool-Aid into it and then dump in your sugar and say, I'm drinking water. Because I would much rather you get the liquid in and at least enjoy it, instead of getting the liquid in and resenting it and then a week down the road saying, no, this is stupid, I'm not doing this anymore. So if you do need to add something to it, as long as it's something reasonable, like not a turkey, then go ahead, add stuff to it. as long as we're getting the extra fluid into us. And then we're just going to increase that as it goes. And I mean, for some of you, maybe it will get to a point where that's, your main drink of choice again. That's what's happened with me. The majority of stuff that I drink is just water, unless, again, like I say, unless I'm mixing something, or if I'm sick, definitely need juice. I'm not going to drink water. I'm just going to guzzle gallon after gallon of orange juice, which is not good for me, but I'm sick, so what do I care? But that's pretty much it, I guess, for this, just sort of a bit of an overview. We'll go into a little bit more detail with some of the other things that I mentioned throughout the week. Don't really want to focus everything just on water, but it is a very important part of what we're doing, and especially where it's our first food change. I sort of want to get to a point where it's to be expected that in a few weeks' time we're going to up it again and then again, so that you will get to a point where you're going to go through probably 2 or 3 bottles a day, but it's not going to feel as if you're waterlogged. You're not going to constantly have to go to the bathroom. It's just going to be part of our regular intake. And the hope is that it's also going to fill us up a little bit more, so we're going to eat less. And it's going to replace some of the drinks that we have once we start tracking those, so that if you're looking at your numbers for the day and you think, well, I've got 400 calories left, do I want a bottle of pop, or should I just drink some more water? Now, obviously, it's not one of those things where they say, if you're hungry, then drink a glass of water and it'll stop the hunger. That's not the same. We're trying to be realistic here, so this is when you're thirsty, not when you're hungry. When you're hungry, have your food. You're okay. We'll deal with the food down the road. But for right now, I just want to get us again into that pattern. And that's all that we've been doing for the past 2 or 3 weeks, is adding little bits so that we're into a pattern. And then it's just going to get easier and easier as we go. But for some of you, like I say, this might be a little bit more difficult just because there's no flavor to it. But you will get used to it, and if you need to, like I say, add something to it so that there's at least some flavor to it. Just don't add things like sugar or Kool-Aid or stuff like that. But that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. In the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.